Hello everyone, welcome to this week's Gran Turismo 7 Daily Race C Race and Strategy Guide, where we're off to the Redhill Ring in Austria and we're in the Group 3 machinery. For this one we've got 13 laps to get round, tyre wear at times 10, fuel at times 2, we've got the soft and the medium tyres both available, and hallelujah, both of those compounds are going to be mandatory, which means there is going to be an element of strategy in this one, which is going to be the first race for about 3 to 4 weeks since we actually had some strategy in Daily Race C, so that is very nice to see indeed. BOP is on, it's the mid-speed BOP, damage is light, it's a rolling start, and slipstream is real. So as I said, nice to see a return of some strategy for Daily Race C. It's not our first visit to the Redhill Ring in Group 3 for Daily Race C either. We did sort of do this combination around about a year ago. At that time it was the Subaru WRX that was the dominant car, but there's been a lot of updates since then, a lot of BOP changes, and I think the car that's going to dominate this week is going to be the Nissan GTR from 2018. Now the reason I think this will be the go-to car for this week's race is going to be two reasons. First of all, it's just a very good car in the category. It's strong in all aspects that you need. It seems to always be towards the top of the leaderboards anytime it's Group 3. Also, we've seen it at the Nations Round 1 at Spa in the Group 3 cars. This was the best car for the race, and the reason for that is the tyre wear performance in this. This car on worn tyres performs far better than any other car in Group 3 that I am aware of, to the extent that it actually feels a little bit broken. No other car experiences so little drop off in terms of lap time compared to this car. So you can see here as we jump forward to lap 10, our lap times between lap 2 and lap 8 have been absolutely consistent. We've had a tenth of each other as we just don't really suffer any real drop off in performance from the tyres. Even though the tyres are looking pretty worn by the time we get to lap 8, the lap time is just still there. By the time you get to sort of lap 9, lap 10 that we're on at the moment, there is a little bit of drop off, not too bad. We're still setting, we're about half a second down, 4 tenths down here on lap 10 compared to our best lap. But that left rear is now starting to look a little bit fragile, so it's definitely time to come into the pits, check out that pit loss, and bolt on a fresh set of mediums. Do be careful coming into the pit lane here of that white line on the left hand side. If you do cross over that as you enter the pits, you will pick up a 3-second penalty, and you do drive the car into the pit lane as well, so do be careful of that. It can catch you out because you're so used to not having to drive the car into the pit lane in Gran Turismo, but if you clip the grass there you can spin out, so definitely something to be aware of. So our cars are just about to be coming into the box. There we go. We're going to put on a fresh set of mediums. No fuel concerns in this one. Fuel is only at times 2, so you burn off around about half the tank by the time you finish the race. Serves no purpose really other than to make the car a little bit lighter. No real concerns on the white line as you exit the pits either at the Redhill Ring, and your pit loss is going to come in around about 22 seconds, so not too bad at all, fairly realistic. Do bear in mind when you exit the pits you will be going slower than cars that have exited from turn 1. There can be a little bit of a speed differential coming into the hairpin. Just be aware of cars around you as you exit the pits is always a pretty good idea. Moving on to our medium tyres, no real tyre wear worries about these at all. In fact, no concerns whatsoever at all on the medium tyres. At most you're going to be running them for 5 to 6 laps. In terms of performance, they're around about half a second to 0.7 of a second slower than a set of soft tyres when they're the same age and on the same fuel. Obviously when we're running them now we have burned off a good bit of the fuel, so our lap times are fairly close to what we're doing on the soft tyres, but do bear in mind as well, even though we set a fairly solid last lap here on the mediums, I think it's a 129.3, that was still slower than our 8 lap old soft tyres. So even though that gap between the soft and the mediums is not as big as at many other tracks, the soft tyres are still king. Finishing time coming in at 19 minutes 41.4, so yeah, 19.5 minutes for most of the very fast drivers for this one. Good to have a decent length Daily Race C rather than something like 16-17 minutes that it sometimes comes in. But that's us pretty much looked at all the elements of the strategy. We can use that to come up with our strategy options. First up, we're going to take a discussion on the optimal strategy. So this is the strategies where you have the optimal tyre performance for the entirety of the 13 laps. If you start on the soft tyres, which I'd only recommend if you're starting well up towards the front of the grid, you're looking at 8 to 9 laps on the soft tyres and then 4 to 5 laps on the mediums. If you're starting on the mediums and finishing on the softs, you can probably stretch the softs for an additional lap. Most drivers will use the medium soft strategy. It does tend to just work out a little bit better. There's just an advantage of being on that softer compound towards the end of the race if you can be. But your optimal strategy is starting the mediums, 3 to 5 laps in the mediums, 8 to 10 laps on the softs. Looking at the undercut strategy, so obviously the undercut means you start on the mediums, you pit early in the race, trying to get some free track on your soft tyres, put on some fast laps and jump some people during the pit stop phase. Now it is possible to go 12 laps on the soft tyres, they will be very second hand. It will probably be beyond a lot of drivers' capability to do that, but more likely 2 to 3 laps on the mediums and then 10 to 11 laps on the soft tyres is more likely. And then you've got your overcut strategy, basically extending your soft strategy because you see more value in being on the soft tyres, even though they're worn, rather than maybe being embroiled in some fighting. It's not a strategy very often used, but it can work in the right circumstances. So let's finish off with a quick lap guide of the Red Bull Ring in the Nissan GTR from 2018. Turn 1, 100 metre board, move the car over to the left hand kerb, avoid the yellow bump on the inside. Track limits on the exit can be a little bit sketchy, but I didn't have any problems with them over my testing in doing this video. I don't think it's quite as annoying as it was in the past. 100 metre board for the uphill hairpin, very tricky corner this one, easy to get on the throttle a little bit too eagerly and spin off and end up in the barrier on the inside. You'll see a few folk do that, I'm pretty sure, over the course of the week. An important corner though, because it's got this long run down the straight. Downhill braking zone here just before the 100 metre board. Get the car overslowed, get it pointed into that apex and then on the power as early as possible. Very easy to overshoot that corner, so just give yourself a wee bit of a safety margin with my advice in the race. 50 metre board for the 90-degree left-hander. Again, very easy to understeer wide on that corner, so get the... this track is all about getting the nose pointed in, particularly this corner we're going through here. Tend to turn in a little bit too late there, most people, so you almost kind of have to turn in unnaturally early in a lot of the corners at the Red Bull Ring. 50 metre board for the penultimate corner. Do be careful of the track limits on the exit and the end of the Austrian flag on the left hand side for the last turn. And again, be careful on that exit. As long as you keep your sort of right hand wheels on the red and white curves, you tend to be fine in terms of the track limits. But that's pretty much it for this one in terms of the strategy. Hopefully that's been useful in some way, shape or form. Should be a fun race. There's definitely some strategy options there and a little bit of scope to make things work in terms of the undercut or the overcut, or just the optimal being a little bit different and trying to just, you know, steal some positions in the pits, which is nice to see. I think it will very quickly become a Nissan GTR 1 make. The tyre that's in trouble for this one is the left rear, which will probably rule out the MR cars in the race. Although I think they'll be pretty strong in qualifying. They do tend to be strong cars in qualifying around the Red Bull Ring, but that tyre wear on the rear I think will maybe rule them out when it comes to race trim. But yeah, should be a fun one. We'll live stream it a couple of times over the course of the week. Do join me for that if you can. You'll find it a friendly place. Say hello in the chat. Everybody will keep you right. But yeah, as I said, hopefully you found the video useful in some way, shape or form. If you have, please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheery bye now.